Hi Gemini, welcome to your reading for the month of January. This message is for Gemini Sun, Moon, and Rising. If you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe down below. Gemini, I'm doing these readings a little differently for January, and I've already pulled a card around your energy and your environment, and I'm going to do a 9-card spread for you guys while I'm talking to you about your astrology for January. And if you see me look down, I've got some notes here, so those notes around your astrology are just pretty helpful. So you have really interesting stuff going on. And for the past 3 years, you've had really interesting transits going on, specifically in your 8th house, which is Capricorn. And all of this has been moving you, in some cases maybe slowly, and in some maybe more rushed, into the next phase of you, whatever that looks like in your life. And this house for us is all about transformation. It's about death and rebirth of the self. And it's also our house of shared resources. So you might have seen some shifts taking place at that time over the past 3 years around shared resources. And it could have related to your partnerships in life. You have the North Node, which is leaving you and moving into your 12th house. And it's likely that for the past 1.5 years, you've felt something new around your sense of autonomy. And you've felt maybe in sometimes an impulsive need to do something differently. And whoops, that's too many, but I'll take that. And by doing something differently, it's been more focused on you, and maybe in some ways it's pulled you away from partnerships. It's likely changed your friendships. You've had Chiron in your 11th house now for a while, which is all around healing of the friendships, and I'll probably get to that in a minute. But this North Node transit leaving you, it really can help you look more at yourself and see what you really value. It can also be one where you become more strengthened in your individuality. And if there's any codependency with the South Node sitting across from you in your house of partnerships, it's likely to pull those dynamics out of your life during that 1.5 years where it's transiting through. So between, let's see, that's your North Node. But between Mars entering Sagittarius in your partnership house, which just happened, and these Pluto-Venus conjunctions in your 8th house, this is only pushing the envelope even further in terms of transformation. At this time, if there's any partnerships that are not in alignment with you, and maybe you're not in alignment with them, whatever the case may be, those are likely coming up for at least some conversations that need to be had, maybe for people parting ways. But also with Chiron in your 11th house, if these are friendships in your life, there is the potential for healing, for conversations that are healing for both parties, and the opportunity to move forward in a friendship with the same person, but the relationship likely will look really, really different. So that's lovely. And then anything that's left you feeling like this with the Pluto-Venus conjunctions happening in your 8th house, anything that's left you like sleepless nights, anywhere where there's been abuse of power or like emotional abuse, that comes up a lot with Pluto and Venus together, that is likely to come up for you to be released and let go of. And this might come up in the form of you speaking to somebody, especially with Mars in your partnership house. If you want a partnership or a friendship or anything in your life to just evolve and change, I would suggest with that Mars energy to just watch your delivery. Because I don't think your words are going to be wrong, right? Geminis are really clear on what they're saying. They generally say it more blunt than people are ready to hear. You're generally not wrong in what you're saying, but the delivery could be in such a way that what you hope is the shifting or the changing of a relationship winds up being like the dissolution of it, and all of a sudden like the relationship's done. So I would, if I have like one piece of advice for Gemini with these transits, that's probably it, is like around delivery. But I think everything's just going in the direction that it's really been going for you guys. Oh, it's on the bottom. Okay. Yeah, I think everything's going in the direction that it's been going. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the Jupiter transit. This is going into Pisces in your 10th house. And throughout the course of 2022, it's going to move between your 10th house and your 11th house, retrograding back to your 10th. And this is absolutely incredible for your career, for your reputation, for anything that you're releasing and putting out into the world. And since that Jupiter transit is moving from your 9th house of higher learning, if you've been investing for some time in a new field or a new skill set, a new service that you offer, when Jupiter makes its way into the 10th and into the 11th, this is a really awesome time to launch, to see it grow in momentum as you begin broadcasting more of what you're doing. And it's going to be a super supportive energy for just expanding out what you've already been working on and what you have to offer in terms of your career and how you're seen in the world and your reputation. And that is very exciting because Geminis have been through it these past few years. So y'all, I feel like you're ready. I feel like you're ready for the new. Gemini, before I even pulled a card for your energy, I had one card just kind of like fly out of the deck when I was like just beginning to shuffle. And it was the Judgment card. So yeah, this really sums up what's been going on these past 3 years with you guys. And it's a really big energy, that's major arcana. And in the traditional deck, there's an archangel at the top, and there's people awakening in the cards. This is often my card of spiritual awakening. All of this, especially with the 8th house transits, are just moving you into greater self-evolution, greater awareness, and into a version of you that's simultaneously somehow both brand new and also more connected to who you authentically are, and maybe connected to a part of you that you were aware of more in your childhood, and that somewhere along the way, maybe different partnerships or different dynamics in your life had you like pulling away from this like fun, creative, maybe tapped in side of you as you maneuvered through the practicality of the world and lost touch with that side of you. So I think it's possible that this card is connected to the message of these past few years for you guys. And in your energy, you got the Death card and the Knight of Cups. Both of these cards came out, and the Knight of Cups is super interesting to get for you because it's like the last Gemini card that I associate. But if there's a part of you that, especially in your relationships or in matters of the heart, has looked through things with rose-colored glasses, if you've tried to like make excuses for like other people's behavior, anything like that, that is very much getting transformed. There is a part of you that is being ignited right now. You are becoming bolder, you are becoming stronger, and that's indicated by the card that's on the bottom of the deck, which seems to me like where you're headed, and it's a Queen of Wands energy. It's extremely confident, passionate, really tapped into her sacral chakra and her solar plexus chakra, the chakras of creativity, passion, and personal will. It's also connected to confidence. And I think whatever's been going on, it's been breaking down this tendency to maybe excuse the behaviors of others for the sake of your own well-being. And it's like a phoenix rising with this Death card here. You can see that. That's evolving you into a new state of being, and one that is ultimately transformed. And that feels really big. That feels really big. I know this is a reading for like the month of January, but it's likely tying up the loose ends of the past few months and going into the first few months of 2022. So in your environment, you also got two cards. You got the Moon and the Six of Swords. You could definitely be dealing with a Scorpio, a Cancer, or a Pisces. And again, it's like the moon sometimes is secrets, it's illusion, it's what people might be trying to keep veiled. You can kind of see that with the two women at the top of that card. And the Six of Swords suggests that you're moving out of a place where there's any like cloudiness or wondering what if. I think you're moving into this place that's a combination of creative passion combined with a sense of like certainness. I know it's not out here, but that certainness that I'm talking about feels like the Queen of Swords type stuff. And I think if there's been any murkiness around the way that you've been looking at anything, you're just cutting straight through it. I think that's really good. I think Gemini of all the signs has been going through most of the transformation for the sake of maturity. And yeah, it's like a new level up for Gemini for sure. You came out right away, your first card out, the Magician. And I'm also going to throw in here the middle card, which is often the energy that I'm reading for as well, which is the Six of Wands. This is feeling victorious in whatever you've been creating. If you've been working on something for the past 4 to 5 months and you're waiting to see the fruits of your labor, the message here is to get ready. The Six of Wands doesn't feel like a prideful, like parading around. It feels like a victory that was won through a lot of hard work and effort. And the Magician suggests that it's something you manifested by being resourceful, using all of the tools at your disposal. And this Magician card is simultaneously about working alone, like without, there's no other person in this card. The infinity symbol suggests a connection to spirit, the divine. But you did whatever this thing was, this investment or whatever you've been working on and manifesting, it wasn't done in like a partnership capacity. Like it suggests that it was done alone. I think there's been, especially in your past, Two of Pentacles, the Emperor, some oscillation around your sense of self-worth, some oscillation around like if you could really step up and lead, if you're worthy, something like that. And that is so not necessary, especially with this, your first card out being the Magician, the Six of Wands in the middle. Yeah, I think you're moving forward victoriously. I think in your past, around the Six of Wands, you have the Page of Pentacles and the Five of Cups. I mean, this can be a lot of like dark night of the soul type stuff. You definitely could have been going through this for like about 1.5 years. Saturn was going through your 8th house. This is a really hard transit. This is a really hard card that I'm holding up too. And Page of Pentacles, you could have been dealing with energies that felt like they just couldn't give you anything. The Page of Pentacles sometimes is like a breadcrumbing card for me. And especially if somebody was being stubborn, Emperor right above it, this could definitely be like crumbs, like nothing. Meanwhile, who you were in the inside was this Six of Wands. Where you're heading and where you were headed is towards the Six of Wands. But I think it was a really rocky road getting there, and I think you felt very alone. And this also can be like a card of depression. It can be a card around rumination of things in the past, especially if there were multiple people who let you down. Because if you look at this whole row together, Five of Cups, Six of Wands, Page of Pentacles, these two things don't belong here. That Six of Wands makes sense on its own, and it doesn't make any sense next to a card of like depression and loneliness and what ifs and coulda, woulda, shouldas, and the energy of something that is so small and minuscule. This is like an illusion. This is almost like someone who promises, like, who says something and then can't follow through with it. It's really, really minuscule and small. The Six of Wands really isn't. Next row, you got the Justice, the Nine of Swords. Oof. Eight of Swords and the King of Wands. You had two cards come out at the end. And there's a few different things here. I'm going to speak first about the Six of Wands with the Nine of Swords underneath it. Your victory, this is like imposter syndrome right here. Your victory might have you feeling like you don't deserve, I don't know, to be seen, to be heard, to be successful, something like that. And it goes back to that worthiness that I saw in the top row. And I'd be really careful around your thoughts at this time. The Nine of Swords definitely can be sleepless nights, but it's generally around like, it's one step up from the Eight of Swords. So it's not just like mental anguish we put ourselves through, it's taking what other people have put us through, and it's like rehashing all of that. It's holding on to it. And this Six of Wands place doesn't really have much time or bandwidth for Nine of Swords energy happening in the middle of the night. So those two don't really, I just want to point out that these two don't go together, and maybe that there's no need for imposter syndrome, something like that. The other message here, this is not suggested as you, this King of Wands, especially coming out at the end of this row, the way that it's looking in, and I'll try to show you. You've got the Justice card, the Nine of Swords, the Eight of Swords, and the King of Wands. Traditionally, in the minor arcana, the signs have different cards, and these are two of the Gemini cards, the Eight and the Nine of Swords. So one way that I interpret this row is this person on the periphery, it could have been a fire sign or just somebody who was channeling fire energy in your past, and Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius could still be in your present, and is in their head, and something you're doing, especially if it regards something you've created for yourself, somewhere where you stopped oscillating about your self-worth, and somewhere where you decided to be victorious and taking initiative to do things that are aligned with like healthy movement forward, especially in ways that like this Queen of Wands would do. It's suggested here that if this is an outside person to you, this level up, this move, this awakening, all of this is in itself a form of like mental anguish and connected to justice somehow with the Justice Libra card here. You could also be dealing with a Libra, possibly. But yeah, I wanted to show you that because of the way that the King of Wands is looking in at all of this. It's also likely that when you were in this place in your past, there was someone who came off as like a dominant energy, because it's also here in the same row with the Emperor. There was someone here that came off as like this dominant energy, like almost like someone who like is lording over someone, I don't know. And it's almost like they were watching this torment happen and just chose to do nothing. That's what that seems like to me. If that's the case, this Nine of Swords and this Justice together is bringing, this is suggested that this is getting cleared up. Even if you don't see it, by the way, although with it coming out in the cards, you probably will. It's suggested here that there's some form of justice. But careful not to be in your own head, careful not to create this like mental prison for yourself. Again, I just feel like I need to say it around your worthiness and around things that have happened in the past and what people have done to you. I think that's really important. Because I think there was some like really stingy energy. You got the Four of Swords on the bottom of the deck, the Knight of Swords underneath it. Ugh. And the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so yeah, this is like this level of bossiness, this level of stubbornness, but it was also like impulsive, very outspoken. This could have been somebody who like slandered you, like said a bunch of stuff that either wasn't true or tried to just damage your reputation. And Wheel of Fortune underneath that, and the World. It's like, yeah, oh my gosh, and the Ten of Swords. It's like all of that is getting cleared up, it's getting wrapped up. The wheel is turning over. This is Jupiter energy. And that reminds me again about that Jupiter moving through your 10th and your 11th house, the way you're seen in the world, your career, what you've been doing, what you've been investing in, what you've been manifesting for yourself is something that is indicated here that you will be victorious in, is what's indicated here, but also that you should feel victorious in. That isn't something to oscillate about. And that, again, to reiterate, you're moving into this Queen of Wands energy. Gemini, I love it. I hope this helps. If you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe down below. See you in February.